bring Mark Holmes. By the way, also Philly.500. So let me give you my assessment of the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to be fair here. I could see Mark in the green room ducking his head already going, holy shit. I'm just making a comment to you that this is Jerry's last year. Okay? This is his last year running the team. I mean, I don't think they're going to go out quietly. I think that football team's going to try to do every single thing they can to try to make a run at that NFC East title. I think the NFC East is going to be pretty decent this year. All right. We missed it last week. By the way, you know who took the place? Do you know who took the place of Mark Holmes and Philly.500 last week? Bill Goldberg. So we had Bill Goldberg on last week because, again, we had to get a big name star in there. So just to take over for these two guys because they have owned this. And without further ado, our friend, Mark Holmes, legendary Dallas Cowboy content creator, and the legendary Philly.500, who could not be denied. This man here is on the road, and here he is with us here. We have the champ, and we have...
And the chump.
Oh, and the chump. Look at, hey, there he is.
No argument.
How you doing, guys?
I'm doing great. Wonderful. How are you?
All good.
Couple things real quick. Xander, I got the check mark. So if you ever have a question, that check mark means it's over 100,000, and that's me. So no, you didn't have the wrench on it. Second question is, did our replacement do better numbers than me and Philly.500?
No. That's Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, I guess.
No. Now, we were in every single wrestling publication across the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that. But no, you guys are a fabulous must-watch. And you know why? It's because of the fan bases. It is. And it's because, you know why? I think there's pity for you, Mark.
No,
I really
y'all
do.
enjoy blood. No, y'all enjoy blooding my ass up. You love seeing me suffer. Let's be real here. Everybody wants to see a freaking train wreck.
Philly?
Agreed.
That's what it is.
Agreed. Very easy.
Don't you agree, Philly? The number one question mark for you guys going into this year is this. Whether you think you have the personnel to replace, whether you think you have the talent on the football team to replace the people that have left. Isn't this the story of the Eagles? The defensive turnover that you've had on defense is the number one storyline on how that will look. Either way, it's the storyline because you're bringing basically 10 of 11 starters back on offense. And the Super Bowl starting team, 5 dudes, if you count Burks, who started in the Super Bowl, 5 dudes are not on that team. Isn't that the storyline for the Eagles? I'm not saying good or bad, whether you're not going to replace it, but the storyline is the biggest question in 25 for the Eagles is the defensive turnover. How big an issue will that be, in your opinion?
I think it is the biggest issue. I think that we all have to accept that, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that a lot of the guys that they have ready to replace the guys they lost were already planned well ahead of time, and they're pretty confident that those guys can play. I would expect that maybe it takes a few weeks. It takes, first half of the season. But I think by the end of the year, I think we could have what is a better defense than was a year ago.
Wow. So you think it could be number one again, in your opinion?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I definitely do.
Let me ask you this here, Mark, on the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. What's the biggest thing you're looking forward to this year with the Cowboys season starting on September 4th?
The biggest thing?
Yep.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Shotty does with this team because it's really unique right now because there's nothing going on. And as far as Cowboys, typically, we're usually worried about, last year was CeeDee Lamb. Is CeeDee Lamb going to show up for camp and all that? Micah technically doesn't have his contract, and he may hold in, but you're not worried about is he going to be traded and all that. It's kind of weird because usually we're listening to Mike McCarthy's on the hot seat and this, that, and the other. There's none of this with it. So it's been almost kumbaya in Dallas land. The question is going to be with all of this stuff between Greek dancing and, everybody going out and playing golf together, what kind of team shows up that first week going against the Super Bowl champions while they're dropping the flag? And that's what I really want to see. It's going to be difficult because we have, so many new players that are in there. And most people say our position groups all suck. And you got a new coach, and we're going against, the juggernaut there, the Philadelphia Eagles, at their party. And can they show up? That's what I want to see.
Okay. I want to ask you a question here because I get a debate on this all the time, Mark. Do you believe that CeeDee Lamb is a better receiver than A.J. Brown?
I think, yes, I do. And I'm going to say the fact that CeeDee Lamb has been really – no, hold on. Just listen here.
All right. I'm listening.
CeeDee Lamb, the fact that this guy is the only target, and the Dallas Cowboys literally have no separation. And you can go back through the numbers. The Cowboys have been in the 30s the last 3 years. The fact that he even had Cooper Rush thrown to his ass last year. This guy has gotten over 1,100 yards every single year. And is only, right now, this is insane to think about this, that he's only 36 catches away from what Dez Bryant did in his whole career for the Dallas Cowboys. He broke Michael Irvin's all-time single season 1,700 yard season. And that's not having anybody who can take anything off of you on the other side. Everybody knows if we stop CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys aren't going to do shit, but they still can't stop him. A.J. Brown?
What do you think?
Devontae Smith on the other side.
Philly, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb. Do you believe what he's just said, that CeeDee Lamb is a better player than A.J.?
Of course he's going to say that.
Why would I believe that guy that's in the slot all the time is going to be better than the guy that's on the outside? Of course, CeeDee Lamb's going to get all the targets. There's nobody else to throw to, okay? And they stick him in the slot. A.J. Brown has to share targets. A.J. Brown is more lethal after the catch. A.J. Brown is more physical. A.J. Brown can go multiple places on the field. CeeDee Lamb, to me, is a slot wide receiver. That's what he is. And now that he's got other targets to throw to, let's see how he acts when he doesn't get the targets that he thinks he should get. Because if you got better receivers, you're going to have more targets go to other players, right? And we'll see what CeeDee Lamb, we saw what he did in the playoffs when he didn't get a couple throws his way. He started crying like a baby. So let's see how he handles it. But no, A.J. Brown is the better receiver. CeeDee Lamb's the best slot receiver in football. A.J. Brown is a better wide receiver.
Well, one thing, let me add a little something here. You are right about that meltdown against the Green Bay Packers. But what you actually have seen from CeeDee Lamb from that point is tremendous amount of growth, because he basically admitted on one of the Micah Parsons podcasts at the Super Bowl that I've got to grow up. And since that time, of course, he got his contract. Going through and dealing with the whole situation of not getting his contract, not being there in camp, losing his quarterback, and playing through injuries last year. Last year sucked for the team, but what he was actually able to do with the injuries, with Cooper Rush and things, actually, to me, was one of his better seasons.
Well, how about this, though? Do you believe that CeeDee's better than Dez Bryant?
Dez Bryant was a better one-on-one 50-50 ball guy. He was a guy that he could write it out on the ground or he's going to make it up on the way. I think CeeDee Lamb is a better inside runner, but like you just said, in the slot. He is better in traffic, and he's a lot quicker.
I got one for you here, Philly. You believe that you have a lot of talent on your football team, especially on the defensive side, right? Yeah. You believe that you think these replacements are going to be good replacements. So I threw this at, a lot of folks here today. Can you name me a safety that you drafted since the time when Brian Dawkins walked out of the building in 2008 that you thought you had a pretty good safety? Can you name me one that organization has ever drafted since 8? Okay, well, why am I to believe then that you have great safeties now. Now, look, here's my take on Reed and where I'm going with this. I think Reed Blankenship's a good player. Is that guy Derwin James? No fucking way is that Derwin James. He's a good player. Now, I think he's a better player with somebody next to him because look at Gardner Johnson. The 2 times Gardner Johnson lined up back there in the secondary, you went to 2 Super Bowls and you won one.
Right.
I mean, don't you think he's more of a product, Reed, of the people around him? I mean, you're going to be starting potentially Makuba, who's never played it down, and you're going to be putting Keely Ringo, who's never started an NFL down in his entire life. Is that any room for concern?
Well, I mean, they've got to go and they got to pass the test. I mean, obviously they got to go play and show it. But I'll say this: the way they've drafted since they've gone on this streak where they've been drafting good players and really changed it
since
after the Rager draft.
Yep.
They've changed their philosophy and how they draft, how they look at guys. So now with the success that they've had at other positions that they would struggle with before, I gotta give them a little bit of room to say that this kid they think is the right safety for them. When you listen to Vic Fangio speak at his press conference and he talked about CJ Gardner getting traded, he's like, I had no problem with it. He seemed like almost happy to get rid of him. So what did they see with Makuba? What did they see? What was the real reason they traded CJ Gardner Johnson? Me personally, I didn't want to trade him, but Makuba is a product of the new way they draft. So I have a lot of hope that he is going to be good to go. In the past, you're right. Nate Late Allen and all those guys, they stunk. But I don't think we're drafting the same way, and I don't expect the same type of player to be coming at safety.
I agree with you. I think since the Jalen Reagor trade, how he said it's all me. All right, Mark, how do you feel about Turnstile Guyton playing left tackle for you?
Come on, man. Now, let's give the guy actually a chance because I'm going to say the problem with him, first of all, when training camp started last year, nobody thought that he was going to be starting the season. But unfortunately, we had an injury that kind of forced him into it. And we're talking about a guy who only had 9 starts in college. Now, he's owned up to last year being a disappointment, and you've seen him literally rechange his body and his demeanor. Now, does that translate to him being great? I don't know. But he's going to have to improve. And I wish that the Cowboys had basically not anointed him and actually had some competition for him, but basically he's going to be our starting left tackle. Hopefully, we'll be really strong in the middle that'll be able to help him out because he does have Tyler Smith right next to him, and that is huge. And Cooper Beebe should be taking another step, and I'm actually looking. The face is there. What's wrong with you, man? You got some kind of twitch there? You got some eating a
I got a bull. It's called a bullshit kick.
Okay. All right. Okay.
When I hear bullshit.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Tyler Booker, he ain't scared. He's coming for you, buddy.
Wait. Are you saying that you can't wait for Tyler Booker to line up against Jalen Carter?
Yeah, actually can. You know what? Hey, he's talking the talk. I want to see him walk the walk. Okay?
Yeah.
You called out. You tugged on Superman's cape. Let's show that you got some shit there. But this has been his MO from high school through college and everything else. And so far, he is not disappointed.
All right. Hey, Philly, you know what today is, right?
What's today?
What is today?
Today's the 32nd anniversary of Jerome's passing.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Holy crap. You're right. Yeah. Jesus.
June 25th.
Yeah.
June 25th, he passed away today. Okay. I mean, I think this kid Carter's got some ability to do that same kind of stuff and be in that same kind of conversation there. Hey, man, how do you feel about the depth on your football team this year? I mean, you know, those guys who were – those guys – I'm going to throw this at you. Then I'm going to ask you the same question, Mark. Philly, I mean, the same guys that now are going to step up to be starters like Moro Ajomo, Jalix Hunt, and some of these other guys that have to step into roles and take over for people. How do you feel about the depth on the football team?
I actually think it's not that bad, really. I like the depth at the defensive line, to be honest with you, because I like Moro Ajomo. I thought he was a player that came on. I think if you look at Jalix Hunt in the playoffs, he was really, really good. And then the guys that they drafted, Azeez Ojulari is coming off the bench, off the rotation. I think he's good for 6 or 7 sacks. So I actually like the depth, especially on the defensive line, especially what we've heard about guys like Ojomo, guys like even Jordan Davis, how he's looking so far. I think we're going to be all right. I like that they added some depth at linebacker. I think really the question is going to be that safety spot and that corner spot. Those are the 2 positions where you might not have the depth that you think you have, and you may have to make a move at some point.
Before I ask you that question, Mark, you think that Dak leads the NFL in passing yards this year?
I hope not, because I'm hoping the team is actually more balanced. Because here's the problem: it's going to be hard not to want to throw the football, having George Pickens, who was actually the #1 rated deep threat, and having CeeDee Lamb. And they may look at it and say, well, we're going to need to pass the ball to kind of open it up for the running backs to loosen up the defenses, which is great. But you really and truly need to be balanced. So, as much as I hate the Eagles, and I do hate the Eagles.
He wants them to be like Jalen Hurts.
Well, I'd like to have a situation like that where I don't have to throw 40 times every week for us to win. You guys have a great formula. I'm not going to just, as much as I hate you, I have to recognize that you guys have actually built a great team. Now, my team, there's a lot of question marks and there's a lot of new working pieces. The advantage that you have is, even though you let go a lot of defensive players, you still have familiarity with everybody that's there. We have all new coaches. We have half of our roster, because we gutted it the year before, are all new pieces that are all having to fit in. And for us, week 1 to play against the Super Bowl champions, with all that, that's actually not going to be an easy thing to do. However, it gives us a little bit of advantage because you don't know exactly what the Cowboys are going to be doing. I don't. We hear Brian Schottenheimer say we're going to try and be balanced. Are we going to try and be a running team? Or are we going to go ahead and take, this Ferrari and go ahead and try and run them down the field and go deep on your ass? I don't know.
I've got to hand it to Philly.500. Got the family with him. He's at Disney, getting ready. The guys are hanging out there, and he's listening to this BS here. I've got to ask you one. Now, let me ask you one question here, though. Well, let me ask Philly.500 this. Philly, why every time do we talk to Mark, and why do I feel that when I hear this, that he's trying to convince himself of the why do I? Mark, you the way you talk. You talk like you're trying to convince yourself into 12 wins. It just sounds like
He's delusional. This is mad cowboy delusion.
Wait a minute. Delusion. We got question marks all over the place. We got Mozzie Smith. He's our main guy in the middle that you always joke. Okay, we got Jay Tola, which is saying you're going to get a rookie 5th round draft pick and think that he's going to be a stud out the box. We got 2 crippled D-backs that are coming back. That are in there. We don't know who's going to be in the secondary. You just talked about the human turnstile. What are you talking about? I'm talking about trying to convince myself we're going to be a 12-win team.
So you think 8 wins then?
No, I think we'll be more than 8. I think it'll be
9?
More like 10. I think it'll be 10. 10 to 11.
10?
Okay, well,
11.
10.
So 1 game difference from 11 to 12.
So wait a minute. But where are you?
I said 10 to 11.
You know what I would do if I were you? Here's what I would do.
Jump.
Wait, here's what I would do. If you don't win a playoff game this year, bro, I'm trading Dak Prescott and I'm trading his
Wait.
I'm trying to get Joe Burrow.
Don't pull a Cam Newton on me.
Trying to get Joe
Burrow.
If you listen to some of the bullshit that's out there, they'll go through and tell you that the Cowboys have the worst rushing attack in football. Right or wrong?
Say that again.
Somebody rated the Cowboys rushing attack as the worst one in football.
What's so good about it?
I'm saying that. Listen to what I'm saying.
It can't be that good.
Okay, I agree.
It's not.
Exactly. So, in our offensive line, how does that look with the human turnbuckle? And you've laughed about Tyler Booker.
I think that you have a C at best.
Okay. All right. And how about our defensive line?
I think that's a C minus D line.
Okay. Secondary?
It stink. We
it's
admit.
a C.
We agree.
Okay, so if you're saying that basically everything is a C- on the team, right? Running game stinks. The offensive line, sorry. The defensive line, sorry. The secondary's weak. I don't know where you think there's a strength on the team. You turn around and you say, if Dak doesn't win a playoff game this year, then you need to trade him. When you basically said everything on the team stinks.
Well, wait a minute.
Well, you got to rebuild. You got to rebuild.
Because I can win a Super Bowl with a lesser quarterback. You know how? You know why? I can. Yeah. I've seen Brad Johnson, and I've seen guys like Joe Flacco. I've seen guys
recent
like
history.
Holmes. I've seen guys win Super Bowls. When you do you know why the Eagles are dominant over you right now? Here's why. Here's the total, and here's the only Mark. Anything else you debate? Look at what they're doing in Chicago right now. Philly, think about this. They went out and traded for the guy from Kansas City for O-line. They traded a guy with the Rams for their O-line. Look at this. Left tackle, homegrown, Mulatto. Left guard, homegrown, Landon. Center, homegrown. Right tackle, homegrown. The only interchangeable piece is the right guard position. Look on the defensive side. Davis, homegrown. Carter, homegrown. Morrow, homegrown. Smith, homegrown. That's where they're lapping you, is because they are in the lines. They're growing these guys like weeds. You've got to go out and lies the problem to put on the other side of Park. And when you miss on Amazi Smith, let's say this. Say
not just Amazi, though.
Hey, check this out. Say Mozzie's decent. You can't have him be decent. They can afford Jordan Davis to be decent when you've got Jalen Carter being exceptional.
I will give you exactly that. You got to have the homegrown talent. For whatever reason, okay, now we've had 2 pooch screws in the last first-round picks that we have not gotten what you would think between Tyler Guyton and Mozzie Smith. But not only that, we're also been screwing the pooch with second-round picks. When you got a guy like Schoonmaker, who right now is looking at being 4th on the roster, as a number 2 pick. When you got guys like Boss Man Fat, who literally just ran and killed somebody who's playing USFL. We literally have not been able to get lights out players in the last couple of years, especially the second round. The last decent second round pick we had was Trayvon Diggs, and you're beginning to question some of his work ethic after having the 2 ACL injuries back to back.
So let me ask you this. Couple last ones here for you guys. For you, linebacking core, Philly. PFF just ranked you guys number 1. Say that you guys.
I don't put much stock in the PFF. I love when we get ranked high, but I can't be a hypocrite about PFF. I go on them and get on them when they don't put Juergens as top 10, 12, 15 center.
Saw that.
Now I'm not gonna sit there and say that they're right. I like our linebacking core, but I don't put any stock in the PFF. I'm just gonna say that. I think that with Jahad Campbell coming in, the Smile Mundon kid, right? I think Trotter Jr. another year. I think we have enough pieces that we're going to be okay at linebacker. Zach Bowen was the important piece, and he's back. So I like what we got at linebacker.
I got to tell you this here, my friend. You see what Yahoo Sports did the other day?
Yes, I did.
No, what did they do? What did they do?
Oh, wait. Let me get
that was funny.
Yahoo Sports ranked the top 10 quarterbacks heading into the 2025 season. And I was just curious on what my friend here would think about this list. So bringing this list up here. And it's pretty interesting, this list here. Let me get to it here.
That shit was funny. You know that was for shits and giggles, right?
Well, what do you mean?
Yeah, okay. There's nothing going on at this time of year. What you have to do is come up with something outrageous to make people watch, okay?
So here it is.
Not putting Dak Prescott as the only one from the NFC East there at 7 and not putting Jalen Hurts or even Russell Wilson or Washington or Jaden Daniels.
Here's the top 10. Here's the top 10 quarterbacks according to Yahoo Sports. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. Number 2, Lamar Jackson. Number 3, Josh Allen. Number 4, Joe Burrow. Number 5, Justin Herbert. Number 6, Stafford. Number 7, the greatness of Dak Prescott.
What?
Number 8,
This is the funniest one.
Geno Smith. Number 9, Jordan Love. And number 10, CJ Stroud. I don't know, Philly. Yahoo Sports has Geno Smith in the top.
That's why nobody reads Yahoo
Oh,
Sports.
shit. But, hey, it did exactly what he wanted it to do. You're talking about it. That's
Well,
what
you
it's
don't
about.
think
It's not
Dak-
about being right.
You don't think Dak's a top 10 quarterback?
I do think he's a top 10 quarterback, but I also think that Jalen Hurts and Daniels are both in there too.
Where would you rank Dak, Mark? What would you rank Dak in top 10?
Considering that 2 seasons ago, he was a runner-up MVP, he is a top 10 quarterback.
But what would you rank him? Like, where do you think he fits in?
I'd probably say about 6.
Okay. Well, I want you to do me a favor then. I want you to rank the quarterbacks in the NFC East.
Me or him?
Okay.
Go you first, Mark.
No. Let Philly go.
Let's let
We
Philly
know
go.
he's going to say Jalen Hurts.
Go ahead.
Of
Let's
course,
see.
I'm going to say Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts is my number 2 quarterback in the league.
Top
let alone
4 quarterbacks in the NFC East. Go.
Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
Russell Wilson's too old. You get 5 years ago, Russell Wilson, he'd be number 2. But I think he's shot.
Okay. How about you, Mark?
The hard part on this is because there's such a small sample size of Jalen Daniels. There's probably going to be the sophomore slump, and he's going to have some problems with his receivers. Okay. So you're basically basing this off of one season. If you're going off of last season, you would actually say Jalen Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, and then Russell Wilson. If you're talking about totality of a career, you got to say Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and then, of course, you got a question mark on Daniels because he only had one season. You have to actually move him back down and say, actually, Russell Wilson has had a better career.
What totality of career has Dak Prescott done better than Jalen Hurts?
Numbers-wise, first of all, your guy only has to throw 23 times a game.
That guy's won.
Okay,
Super Bowl
23 times a game.
a
Your guy has never thrown more than 23 TD passes in a season.
You just cried like a baby.
What it would have to be.
You just cried like a baby that you wish Dak Prescott would throw less.
Okay,
Did he not just say that?
Yes,
you just said, I don't want Dak throwing 4 times a game. Come on.
You don't, because it's a little bit different. It's a little bit more difficult when you're one-dimensional. I'd like to see what your guy would have to do. Actually, I mean, I'm not wishing.
You saw what
bad.
he does. You saw what he does, Mark. He takes them.
He
to
didn't win a Super Bowl until he got a 2,000-yard rusher.
He came one drive away from winning the Super Bowl. He was there. Jaden Daniels
but did he win? Did he win? Did it count?
The first time? No, but he came
okay,
close.
all right. So
he's
got one Super Bowl win with a 2,000-yard rusher.
And your guy has how many?
He hasn't had a 2,000-yard rusher.
How many appearances does your guy had in a Super Bowl?
Doesn't have it.
How many in the NFC Championship? Jaden Daniels played 1 year and
has
apples
to oranges there, buddy.
Wins.
Your team versus my team.
Wins.
Your GM versus my GM.
Jaden Daniels has as many playoff wins as Dak Prescott.
Take a look at that schedule going down.
Wait a second here.
Come on.
Couple last ones here, but
we judge quarterbacks by championships, by what they do in the playoffs. That's what matters.
Okay.
Sorry.
So wait, Philly, I've got a question here for you on that though.
Philly looks good.
Do you think that people diss on Hurts because he's got a good team around him?
Yeah, I think it's like the Clyde Simmons scenario when people used to look at Clyde Simmons and say, well, they got Reggie White and Jerome Brown, and they dismissed him as just that other end, Yet when he got a chance to be by himself and neither of those guys were there, he went out and led the league in sacks. So, yeah, I think it's unfair, but I do think that Jalen Hurts gets that because of what he's got around him.
Okay, so he gets that, and you think that's unfair. Well, then I'm going to turn around and go like this to you on this. What's the difference then with Dak and with Joe Burrow and with Josh Allen when those guys don't have a good football team around them and you know that organization hasn't built them? You're using the same metric that you use to tell people don't gauge Jalen Hurts because the organization is good and because he's got good players around him. Okay, Well, then if you're using that, you got to also use the fact that, well, wait, Cincinnati, Buffalo, and some of these other places, these guys don't have good teams around them. You can't use that against those guys because those guys don't have good teams.
I don't use it
winning in the postseason.
And I'm not using it against them. No, but I'm not. I mean, those guys are top quarterbacks in this league for a reason. What Joe Burrow has taken his team to a Super Bowl.
He has.
Josh Allen has played well in the playoffs. I mean, that playoff game versus the Kansas City Chiefs and Kansas City, where it was in overtime, he came off the field in overtime with the lead. He has shown that he could come up in big moments. Those guys have, at least in my opinion, I have the belief that they could win the big games. A guy like Dak Prescott, at every time he's played in the playoffs, for the most part, he stinks. Those other guys,
along with everybody else on his team there too, bro.
Just like Justin Herbert. I think Herbert and Dak Prescott are the same quarterback.
Well, Herbert is probably the most overrated one because
I
they'll sit there and they'll praise Justin Herbert, but he's looked even worse than Dak Prescott in the playoffs.
Can you name one wide receiver he has on that team right now? Justin Herbert.
Oh no, not off the top of my head.
Well,
they got the kid from whatchamacallit. I like him.
Can you name a running back on that team?
No.
Well, you can name running backs on my team, but that doesn't mean they're worth shit.
Hold on. I'm just asking you about an organization failing quarterbacks.
Well, they just lost their running back. I don't know who their other running back is.
Right. I mean, Eckler's Eckler's
Didn't they get Najee?
Did they get? Oh yeah, they got Najee Harris.
They got Najee.
Good luck with that. That guy's slow as molasses.
But my point is, again, Mark, I mean, organizations, do you think the Cowboys have failed Dak Prescott?
Take a look at some of the offensive linemen that we've had out there and things. Take a look at the lack of actually trying to get weapons. And, here it is. We'll get rid of Tony Pollard and we'll bring back Zeke. Yeah, come on. You think that's actually, providing a quarterback what he needs?
Now, this is where I give the Eagles credit. They have not failed Hurts.
No, they have not.
Okay, they have consistently built. You know what they've built around Philly? And you tell me if you agree or disagree. They built around his deficiencies. And I think every organization should build around a quarterback's deficiencies. Okay? I mean, he's not asked to carry a football team. Well, he's the only guy in the NFL that has that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was asked to play great in a big game, he did. Okay, I mean, there's nobody else.
Here's the reality of it, though. Fortunately, you're never going to find out how good the guy really is because you don't have to have it.
But
that is a luxury. That's what I said. That's a luxury. Who cares? If I wouldn't care if I'm winning Super Bowls, I don't care if my quarterback had 10 TDs. It doesn't matter.
Do you think?
I wish I had that.
Do you think, Mark, we ever found out how good Aikman was?
No, because he only had one season where he had over 20 TD passes. That's the perfect scenario. That's called winning. And that's where you ask me, will Dak lead the league in passing? I hope not, because then that means we're one-dimensional, and you're living by the sword and dying by the sword. When you are able to run the football and throw the football, it's too much for me to have to cover and stop. That's the perfect scenario. That is, why try and reinvent the wheel?
That's the only thing, Philly, that gets me is that, the same metric that people go like this with Jalen is that you're penalizing him because he has good players around him. No, I'm not. But I'm also going to take that same metric that you guys use. If I see Josh Allen, I can't name a fucking player on that Buffalo team that could start in Philly on the offense. Yeah. There's not one player.
But still,
so why does he seem to hurt him? But why does he
seem to hurt him?
Yeah, but why does that – wait a minute. Why does that – the luxury for him that he doesn't get that same thing going, well, he doesn't have a good team around him?
Well, I think he does. I mean, everybody pretty much, universally puts Josh Allen as number 2 or 3 quarterback at worst.
He won the MVP.
4.
I mean, I get it.
I mean, he gets – I think he gets praise. I think guys that throw the big numbers up get the praise, regardless of whether they got the team or not. I watched Herbert – so 3 interceptions all year, and then the playoff game throw 5, and then talk about him only throwing 3. So I think these guys get all the credit for the numbers. But in today's football, which is different than back in the day, is you don't get credit for winning. And to me, that's like it's gone to the opposite extreme, where I think that it does matter when you win. I think it does matter. If Jalen Hurts only throws 15 times, that means he's got to be accurate on those 15 throws because he can't afford to mess any up. Okay, so to me, there's two ways to look at it. I think they get all the credit in the world for the statistics.
But I'll say this: isn't that okay? So you are looking at Justin Herbert for that one playoff, and you're looking at him for that one playoff performance, and you hang your hat on that he's not a good quarterback, right?
What I'm saying is that he's not. I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. What I'm saying is he hasn't proved to me that he can be a winning quarterback. And that's what I think matters most of all. Can he win the big game? Can he show up in the big game? And so far, what I've seen from him in big games has been really not that great.
I mean,
that doesn't mean he doesn't have talent. Of course, he's got tremendous talent, tremendous arm talent, all those things. But in the big game, where are you?
See, I look at Dak the way that that kind of Mark does. I personally, if Dak throws a lot of picks in playoffs, Mark, why aren't you fucking getting running backs in there? Why aren't you getting tight ends in there like the Eagles are doing for Hurts? They got a guy. I mean, you know what I would have did if I were you guys? I would have made every push to get Dallas Goedert and try to get that guy signed and weaken the Eagles and bring him over. Because you know what's going to happen to Dallas Goedert next year? He's going to Kansas City. He's going to go play with Mahomes. He's got his ring. He may get another one. Dallas fundamentally has made personnel decisions the last 30 years that have not been good for Romo and also for Dak.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I think it's going to be an interesting year. I think they're better. I think the Cowboys are better. But how much better? I think that's going to be a real test here, man. September 4th, guys. I can't wait. Philly, I appreciate you taking time. Mark,
yeah, man.
Enjoy your vacation, buddy.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys soon. Thank you guys so much, man.
Peace. Thank you.
I appreciate these guys, man. Absolutely taking time out of their day to come aboard with us. I'm gonna say it again, man. I personally think again that the Cowboys, I mean, it's been 30 years. And the decision making that they've made in the building has just not been good enough when it comes to personnel. They can't even get the coach. You know, I heard Mark talking about the new coach. Okay. I mean, when has Dallas got the coach right outside of Parcells? I mean, when have they gotten that right? They haven't. How could Mark talk shit saying Dak is 9-4 against the Eagles, but when they get beat in the playoffs, it's a team asking for a friend? Rob, I'll say this to you about this. There's no doubt the second season is the most important when it comes to quarterbacks and where you're going to gauge them. Dak Prescott plays pretty consistent football from the September all the way through to the regular season. Where they shit the bed the same way the Baltimore Ravens do with Lamar. I mean, they come out of their identity. You know what the identity of the Dallas Cowboys should be? Run the fucking ball, not throw the ball. You lean on Dak. Get this. How many quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl that have thrown the ball? Who? Mahomes and Brady. Mahomes and Brady are generational players. Okay? Jalen Hurts didn't have to play great all year. He was good. I disagree with John. I don't think he was bad. And I think the Eagles just said that they were cookie cutter. Stafford, that's a good one too. Stafford threw the shit out of the ball. He did. You guys are right. Stafford threw the shit out of the ball. Okay? Stafford's a generational thrower too. I'll say it one more time to you guys. Dude, it is not a diss on Hurts when you say this. I don't need him to play great for 4. I really don't. Patrick Mahomes couldn't play great for 3 weeks. Not even he could do it. To do that week in and year out. I mean, listen, Patrick Mahomes getting beat by the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Think of what I'm going to say here. They got beat in the Super Bowl in the third year going to the game. I don't know about you. I think that's still quite an accomplishment for that Chiefs team. 3 straight. The only franchise in Philly history that's ever gone to 2 straight are the Flyers. That was in the 70s. What the Chiefs have done is remarkable. If they go back, they'll tie the Bills. But the difference will be they got 2 rings and maybe 3 in 4 years. That's unprecedented. I mean, here, some of the playoff teams. Oh, by the way, so I put my PFF top 10. Get this, Xander, so you know, it's good to see WIP put a poll up, taking our content yesterday, talking about, do you think it's fair? Go back and look what I posted on my Twitter account, my X account. I said, do you think it's fair that Nick Sirianni is ranked, I think it was 7th by PFF? They put the same one up. So I'm glad they watched the show. Guys, it's all good. You know, copying someone's flattery. So I'm great with it. Thank you very much. All these teams are going to have all the contenders. Okay? The Chiefs were depleted. They have been. You can't keep losing guys like Snead, Honey Badger, Tyreek Hill, and not replace them and then get older at key positions like tight end. Travis Kelce is not going to help that offense this year. It's going to be Xavier Worthy that's got to help him. Okay? Every team's going to have an issue. Here, I wrote these things down here. Every single team. Here's Buffalo. Let's go here with Buffalo. Okay? I mean, who are you throwing to? Who are you throwing to? Rashid Rice? Who's that? Do you think Rashid Rice could start in Philly? Ibanez, do you think Rashid Rice could start in Philly? He ain't starting in Philly. Do you? Okay. Mr. International, do you think he could start in Philly? Where? He's the number 1. Oh, so Kansas City's number 1 would start in the 3-hole over Dotson, who doesn't get any targets. Doesn't work like that. He's not starting over A.J. Brown. Oh, so wait. RC3, you're going to turn a 1 and put him into 3. Oh, I see. Well, that's not exactly how you do it, but okay. The guy's not that great. I completely agree with you. Dotson might actually be better. Here's Baltimore. The O-line. They got to be as good as Philly. Okay? They got to be as good as Philly, man. Kansas City. I mean, okay, the O-line. I think the O-line got exposed by the Eagles. Detroit, agreed. Okay, OC and DC. The Rams, Father Time caught up with Stafford. Washington, how deep are you? I mean, I think they've gotten better. They've added better. Get this. I don't care what people think about the players they added. They added better players. But they're older. They added better players. They went to the NFC title game with an offensive line that gave up the most pressures of any O-line in football. Do you know that? They drafted a kid and they signed Tunsil. All right. Guys, our great friend at Morgan & Morgan, we appreciate these guys being a sponsor of the program. I can't thank them enough. The number one injury law firm in America for a reason. You know why? It's because they win, and they win big. Whenever you see Morgan & Morgan coming, you know without a fact that this is going to be something that you're going to have your family protected, because this is what Ultima Morgan and John Morgan built over 30 years ago. If you're hurt in an Uber, if you see what's going on in California with all the homes and all the insurance companies canceling homeowners insurance, and you see the devastation there in North Carolina or down in Florida or anywhere across the country, if you're ever injured, please do me a favor and check out our great friends at Morgan & Morgan by going forthepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/Big Sills or pound law 529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sill sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a